and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to talk with a relative newcomer to the city. She runs the Citizens Unity Commission, Synetheia Newby. Welcome.
Thank you, Robin.
And welcome to Hampton, and welcome to the office that we share.
We
We're
do
neighbors.
share. We do.
Let's talk about the Citizens Unity Commission. You're in this unique position where you're a sort of city service, but really it's a citizen group that you help coordinate and provide staff for. Explain to me what the purpose is.
Okay, so the Citizens Unity Commission has been in existence since about the mid-90s, around 95, 97 timeframe. It started out as an ad hoc leadership group that was just tasked to really look at the racial dynamics in the city. They looked at the mapping for the voting zones, and from there it really just evolved into a wonderful opportunity to have meaningful conversations and dialogues around race in the city. The wonderful thing I think about the Citizens Unity Commission is it creates a great opportunity to really look at the dynamics that could divide us because we are so diverse.
And it sort of started that way, too, from a division.
It did. It started that way as a division. And so from the citizen-based Citizens Unity Commission, which could be a little confusing because our department name is the same as one of our commissions.
Yeah.
But the citizens were at the heart of how this work began from the very start. And so through its history, it's really just been a great opportunity to continue dialogues about diversity in the city and really celebrate diversity and look at ways that we can be unified in spite of those differences. So we have two really great commissions that are connected to our department. Again, the Citizens Unity Commission and the Citizens Engagement Advisory Commission. The CUC is the proactive arm, is how we like to put it. CAC, which is the acronym for Citizens Engagement Advisory.
Let's not use acronyms. We don't do
use
that.
Acronyms. Okay. All right. So the Citizens Engagement Advisory Commission is more of the reactive arm.
When there's an issue or a problem that threatens to divide us.
Yes, absolutely. And so a good example would be, for example, in July of this year in Baton Rouge, there was a lot of unrest there, racial unrest, when an African-American male was shot by two white police officers. Heaven forbid that something like that should happen here in Hampton, but the wonderful thing would be that we have a citizen-based commission that could become actively engaged in that situation to really be amongst other citizens, having open conversations, dialogue, and promoting understanding about what's going on, what's happening, what the city is doing. And so overall, our department and those two commissions really become a great way to involve our citizens, keep our citizens informed, to really promote unity, celebrate our diversity, and make sure that Hampton's not just a livable city, but it's an inclusive city.
Well, and that's what I think is so interesting, is that you have both arms. You have the arm that deals with a situation when it arises,
yes,
which we've been lucky so far that we haven't had very many situations. And partly because you have this proactive arm.
Right.
And explain to me some of the programs that you run to teach people about appreciating, understanding the diverse community.
Absolutely. So one of the programs that we have is the Hampton Diversity College. Our Hampton Diversity College is exactly that. It's an educational opportunity. It is free to the public, and the sessions are designed to talk about diversity, talk about religion, to also talk about intergenerational diversity. Also, our LGBT community here in the city of Hampton becomes one of the important topics that we look at. We also look at race, ethnicity, and culture at deeper levels. The wonderful thing about the college is that generally we have about 20 participants at one time, so it creates a real intimate opportunity to have real conversations because
people open up because they're together for several weeks.
And it's really how we learn from each other, you know. And I think one of the biggest things when you talk about diversity is being able to have those conversations, because a lot of times our misperceptions are shaped by information that we have that come from our experiences. But what happens if we can sit in a room together and have a conversation about what seems to be very taboo topics in a very respectful and honorable way, and have facilitators that really help to structure that conversation, and you learn, you know, and really have opportunities to build long-lasting relationships with others. So our Diversity College has right now 2 levels. We have modified it this year, so we are trying an approach now versus having 9 sessions. It's going to be 5 sessions, so we want to really maximize our time. Our level 1 is going to be in October this year, actually.
Okay.
Every Thursday in October from 5:30 to 8, we're going to be at the Kenny Wallace Neighborhood Center, and we're going to be talking about intergenerational diversity. We're going to be talking about religion. We're going to talk about disability awareness as well.
And I think that's what's interesting is that a lot of people might think, oh, diversity, unity, it's just African Americans and Caucasian people.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of the big racial issue that you talk about. But there's Latinos, there's Asians, there's a lot of ethnic diversity, and there's religious diversity, and even within Christianity there's diversity, much less, you know, we have Hindus, we have Muslims here, we have a really wide variety, and intergenerational is huge when you start looking at the differences between baby boomers and the poor little squeezed Xers and the giant millennial group now, and you know, how they respond, how they react, how we treat each other, and what our assumptions are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you raise a very good point, because I think for so long the conversation about diversity has really been about black and white
or gender issues.
Right.
But I don't know if
and
we
diversity
talk about that enough.
is so much more. And so it's one of the reasons that we're going to be very intentional about having conversations about our LGBT community this year and in the coming year. That's a big part of our programming. We're partnering with the LGBT Center of Hampton Roads to help us in that process. We also have a great partner over at our Conventions and Bureau Division, and so we're really excited about that expansion.
Really looking at LGBT tourism, wedding venues, things like that here.
Absolutely.
Not as many communities are welcoming, I think, as Hampton is.
Right.
And I don't have to tell you, but I'm telling the TV audience, Hampton was named by a magazine as one of the most diverse communities.
Yes.
And interestingly, that wasn't just race. Again, it's gender, it's age diversity. We have a lot of older people who can age in place in Hampton. We have a lot of young folks, and we have an economic diversity.
Yes, and that was the thing that was celebrated most for us in that study, was just how economically diverse we were.
Right, I think of us as being so dependent on the federal government, but actually we have a pretty wide variety here of professions and incomes, and that is helpful in terms of sustaining an economy over time, because some things peak and valley, and to have other things really helps.
Right, absolutely. So I think, again, you just really point out just how large this topic of diversity really is. And so the challenge for us at the Citizens Unity Commission is to really expand our citizen-based understanding of what diversity is, that it is so inclusive of all of those things. And so our Diversity College is really structured so we can have all of those conversations. And so we're really excited this year. We're going to expand the Diversity College with a level 3 train the trainer format, where we really want to empower our citizens and educate them so that they then host diversity college settings where they educate each other. So you have this constant paying forward of information and education that we're really excited about doing this year. And so in addition to our usual participation in various community events where we have a table set up to promote
that's what I was going to say. You also have some sort of one-day awareness events. I mean, people should keep up with what's going on, because you don't have to take a class maybe if you're not ready for that time commitment. Right. You can just dip in and learn a little bit about different topics.
You can. And so right now we don't have a full schedule of events because a lot of those evolve each
out of
week.
Something else someone's doing.
Yes.
Like International Children's Festival, you guys are always there.
We're there, gosh, for at least the past 10 years. So we've been very involved there. And always seeking new opportunities and welcoming invitations to come and be a part of. But one of the things that you'll be able to do in 2017 is on our website, we're going to make sure that we keep our citizens aware of where we are, what we're going to be doing, so they can join and connect with us, because we are really looking this year to get more into the community and engage our citizens in more meaningful ways in the work that we do.
Synetheia, what do you say? I know we do budget surveys, and among some part of our population, diversity education or efforts to promote diversity are not always viewed as a need by our citizens. Right. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I say that, our desire here in Hampton is to be the most livable city. And in order to be the most livable city, we have to make sure that we're continuing to have conversations that make everyone in this community feel as though they are included, in spite of what the differences may be. A place becomes livable when you feel welcomed, when you feel embraced, when you feel a part of. And so I think we have to continue to have these conversations so that when there are those discrepancies and feelings and thoughts about, I don't know how I feel about living in Hampton, you have those conversations so that you keep the lines of communication open. We're constantly building new partnerships, new relationships. I think that's what keeps the city being the most livable. So this work becomes so important because of our differences that could divide us, but we're not going to do that.
What are some of the riches that we have as a city by being diverse?
Well, I think one of the greatest benefits that we have is this city is so rich in history, so much history here. And the history, evolves across racial lines. It also evolves, across gender lines. And so I think one of the greatest things about this city is its rich history. And so history has a way of forming a wonderful foundation that becomes a legacy for everything that we do. And I think very much we want to continue to build on that foundation and to continue to create a legacy for our kids who are coming up now.
I will also say, and this is probably my particular emphasis, but I love the richness in the culture. I think we have a diversity in food and restaurants here. We do in art, we do in music, and Hampton, with the designation of downtown and Phoebus as an arts district, I think you're really going to see that blossom. And again, it's not just race or ethnicity, it's also age, it's modern art versus more traditional, and the same with music. And I just think it's going to continue to be a really exciting place here because we're not all the same.
Right.
And that gets boring, right?
It does. It does. It really does. And so I think, your reference to our arts district is really, that's that foundation I'm talking about that builds a legacy. And we want to keep building from there. We want to constantly be looking at ways that we continue to evolve as a city, that we continue to grow as a city, that we continue to embrace our diversity. I think all of that becomes very important because arts becomes a way that draws a lot of people into our city. I agree with you. I think the food is one of the greatest things. Now, I might be biased because I love seafood, but, I think that's one of the benefits that we have living in such a coastal community is to be able to have that value of diversity. And we're also such a transient community because of the military influence here.
And that is a big part of the diversity too.
Yes.
It's, people who've served in the military frequently fall in love while they're abroad. And, it just increases the differences we have and the variety.
And it brings us so much more richness here. I was actually at a presentation this morning and met a gentleman who's been living here for about 3 years, and he chose to retire here. And so I think that's a great statement, not only about our city, but I think it says something for the value of the people who come here. And what they bring to our city when they come. And so I think it's wonderful that people feel comfortable to be able to retire here and build a life here. And I want us to continue to build on that, While
you're saying that, let me ask you, you're talking about other people who choose Hampton.
Yes.
Why did you choose Hampton? Your background, you were working in Newport News. You had a fine job there working with victims of crimes. Why did you choose to come to Hampton?
I believe everything is really about time and season, Robin. I think that there's great value in being a part of a community where you're born and you're reared, and then you go out, you kind of see the world, you travel, do great things, but there's something about coming home that always feels like coming full circle, that you then take all the things that you've learned and all the places you've gone, and you bring it back to the community where you started, and you plant seeds there, again, building that legacy. And so for me, coming back home is really just building upon a foundation that started with me in my childhood, and just seizing opportunities to take everything that I've learned over the years and bring it to the city that I've grown to love and that's always been home for me. So it was really like a no-brainer. It was just time to come home.
Wonderful. I can't add anything to that, so we're going to go ahead and close. Thank you,
Thank you, Robin.
And thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit more about the programs that Synetheia and all of our very important citizen volunteers run and execute here in the city about diversity. Thanks for watching.